Occupational stress, impact of downsizing, and organizational change of surviving employees by Carolina Troya, Juanita Morel, Michelle Guidry, and myself, Katiuska Carrasana. Objectives: learn the effects of occupational stress from downsizing, managing the dynamics of the organizational downsizing, review HR's role in a downsized environment. HR professionals face many challenges after the organization has been downsized through layoffs. Issues and concerns will likely arise among workers who survive the downsizing, and HR must help the workforce move forward to achieve organizational goals. In an attempt to truly understand the feelings surrounding employees in a downsizing environment, several employees from a local business were interviewed regarding their thoughts towards their managers possibly taking an early retirement package, and this is what they said. Their names have been kept confidential. Individual number 1, age 41, and reports to Bob. Position: financial analyst for Latin America. Our team is very affected. Bob is a great boss, a true leader. During the past 5 years, he has been our supervisor. The team became empowered and truly aligned. He has inspired us. We are going to miss him greatly. More than a boss, he has been a mentor to us. We have reached important progress, and it might be interrupted due to this new situation. The future seems so uncertain. We have the feeling that they will cut our team. The rumors are that this might happen in January or February. I wish they could give more details. It is hard to concentrate with such uncertainty. Individual number 2, age 37, and reports to Tim. Position: marketing analyst. I am very sad that Tim is leaving. He is a wonderful boss. I feel that once he leaves, we will be defenseless. Our current projects might be truncated, and what is more saddening is that most of us might even lose our jobs later. The uncertainty is making everything worse. I feel we should be given more information. C will be leaving us soon, and we do not know yet whom we will report to. Of course, if we still have a job by then. Effects of downsizing. Downsizing and mass layoffs can be traumatic for those who are laid off and for those who survive the downsizing and remain employed. Even the managers who implement the decision to lay off employees feel discomfort at letting people go. It can be a very painful process for the first and second line supervisors when informing the particular individuals that are being let go. Studying managers' reactions to the actual implementation of downsizing decision is also important, because how managers react and behave in the post-layoff environment helps to shape the attitudes and behaviors of employees, and hence, the morale and effectiveness of the workforce. The job cuts have had devastating effects on the suddenly unemployed, but they've also had a powerful impact on those workers who are left behind. Typically ignored in the drama of downsizing, layoff refugees get to keep their jobs only to face rising workloads, sinking morale, ongoing anxiety, and the uncomfortable feeling that they ought to be grateful for it all. Layoff survivor syndrome, the collection of emotional, psychological, and physical reactions long documented in workers who remain on the job. Being left behind, they say, can sometimes be as distressing as being let go. While survivor syndrome is typically thought to be born out of feelings of guilt in having survived the redundancy, coupled with anxiety and insecurity relating to future layoffs, it is possible that survivors may feel other emotions. An alternative model would propose that the elation felt at having kept their employment may lead to other negative organizational outcomes. Redundancy survivors may feel that they and their positions are necessary to the organization, and as such become increasingly aware of their importance within the company. Managing the dynamics of downsizing. Honesty is the best policy when it comes to managing in a post-layoff environment. When managed effectively, downsizing can yield significant economic and organizational benefits. Reducing people cost has an immediate positive impact on the company's bottom line. Additionally, proponents point to longer-term benefits of delayering and reducing administrative overhead, such as faster decision-making, greater entrepreneurial behavior, and smoother communication. To counteract an effective downsize, leaders should design, as early in the process as is feasible, a game plan to go through reduction in a way that actually builds for the future. This is the time to invest aid to those who are leaving and simultaneously strengthen the understanding, skills, morale, and work climate of those who will stay. Human resource professionals can help mitigate some of the negative impacts of downsizing on employee health and well-being by considering the following concepts. Implementing processes and policies that emphasize fair procedures and open, timely, and honest communication to employees in all work units. Assessing workload demands following significant changes to a work unit or department. Implementing regular surveys of the organization with particular attention to communication, workload, and management relations within the organization. Ensuring the requisite changes in the compensation and benefits programs accurately reflected added duties and responsibilities. Retraining remaining employees to correctly coincide with new job demands. Retaining the surviving talent by maintaining the employees' engagement and job satisfaction. Let's break these concepts up into more depth. According to the SHRM Toolkits, there are several things to consider regarding managing communications while transitioning to post-layoff work environment. After an employer implements a layoff, the theme of communication changes from specific types of information for employees losing their jobs to types of communication tailored for those who remain within the organization. New World Order. A fundamental communication after a layoff is to explain to employees how management believes the change will improve the organization. Essentially, management wants to convince employees that the layoffs were necessary, appropriate, legal, fair, and compassionate, and designed to create a stronger organization, all of which should be true. It should be planned and carried out as a serious effort to bring the surviving employees together in a cohesive and enthusiastic team. The employees who have survived should be convinced that they are still employed because the organization needs and values their knowledge, skills, and abilities to fulfill ongoing roles. The first talk with employees should involve those most affected by the layoff. Subsequent talks may be necessary for the entire organization. Over time, the talks should become strategy sessions and eventually standard business meetings. What employee needs to hear. Employees need to feel safe before they can go on to become productive in a downsized environment. Communicators must be truthful and encouraging, but they should never make unrealistic promises. Continuous and comprehensive. The communication should go both ways, with members of upper management realizing that they learn more by listening than by talking. Keeping the dialogue going until it evolves from crisis mode to business as usual is crucial. Analyze employee responses. The employer may discover it needs to restructure work groups, provide training, implement additional layoffs, adjust compensation and benefits, or find ways to manage disgruntled customer. Employers should listen to what survivors are saying because their knowledge is part of why they survived the layoff. Relocating job responsibilities. Conducting a layoff involves prioritizing job requirements, analyzing the existing workforce, and making the layoffs in such a way that the most vital jobs will continue to get done. Keep in mind that reshuffling surviving employees' job duties involves significant disruption to the entire employment relationship. Surviving employees may be required to take on tasks they dislike or do not do well or were not hired to do. Some surviving employees may dislike their new job descriptions even though the job changes offers new opportunities. HR professionals may find themselves continually analyzing jobs and redrawing job descriptions. Some employees may dislike changes so much that they become disengaged or even leave the organization. Adjusting compensation and benefits. Most likely, surviving employees will think that they should be paid more for taking on added work or that they should be recompensed in some way for any loss of fringe benefits. No one wants to take a step backward, but accommodating such expectations may undercut the cost reduction purposes of the layoff. Nonetheless, making some adjustments in compensation and benefit plans for the survivors may be necessary. If an employer refuses to do so, employees who have been identified as critical to the organization's ongoing operations may start looking for greener pastures. Retraining. When the layoffs are completed, however, the question becomes how the employees who remain can best help the organization achieve its mission. The answer may emerge one employee at a time. Surviving employees will be more engaged and feel more satisfied when they see the organization reinvesting some of its savings from the layoffs in retraining them and developing their careers. Downsizing can take a toll on a workforce morale. Employees may feel betrayed. Long-term consequences of altering the work environment include increased voluntary turnover and decreased innovation. In the aftermath of an organizational downsizing, the surviving employees will engage in comparing what they now have with what they had beforehand and with what they think they could get elsewhere. David Knorr, an honorary senior fellow at the Center for Creative Leadership in Greensboro, North Carolina, describes a malady called layoff survivor sickness. It is caused, he says, by a pervasive sense of personal violation. It is a toxic set of feelings and emotions that include fear, insecurity, and uncertainty, frustration, resentment, and anger, sadness, depression, and guilt, a sense of unfairness, betrayal, and distrust. Charles O. Trevor, Associate Professor of Management and Human Resources at the University of Wisconsin-Madison School of Business, and Anthony J. Nyberg, Associate Professor at the University of South Carolina Moore School of Business, as well as Knorr and other experts, have identified HR practices that can help address such post-layoff emotional problems. Among the recommendations, over-communicate and tell the truth. Ensure a perception of fairness in decisions or restructuring. Adopt a helping relationship rather than one of command and control management. Facilitate grieving and venting. In their research, Trevor and Nyberg also examined another circumstance that HR professionals could encounter after the organization has downsized, namely increased turnover. They found that the more people an employer laid off, the higher its rate of subsequent turnover. The researchers added, however, that certain HR practices can substantially buffer the effect of downsizing on subsequent employee turnover. Practices that foster job embeddedness or attachment serve as one kind of buffer. According to Trevor and Nyberg, these include defined benefit plans, sabbaticals, on-site childcare, hiring for organization of fit and flex time. Another category of buffers consists of practices that convey a concern with procedural justice. In other words, practices that give employees a sense that the company is just and fair. These practices include providing ombudsman, confidential hotlines, and formal grievance processes. Implementing or strengthening such practices before layoffs might help an organization mitigate employee flight after a downsizing. Hiring a new employees involves so many uncertainties and costs that it is often better to retrain, and reassign a person already on their payroll or to rehire a former employee. Rehiring laid-off workers could be advisable for various reasons, such as curtailing outlays for severance payments or unemployment benefits. In addition, rehiring laid-off employees might increase company morale. Additional HR responsibilities that need to be considered after an organization has decided to implement a downsize includes helping the other managers effectively communicate what is happening to the organization's customers and how to approach the evaluations of the system as a whole, as well as the individuals within the organization. Maintaining customer relationships. Managing the customer relationship after a downsizing is essential. Such as with the employer-employee relationship, there should be a vendor-customer communication associated with any significant layoff. The customer, like the surviving employee, will want to know, how is this going to affect me? Communication with customer is a function usually performed by managers outside HR, but HR professionals are often involved in informing other managers on what has been done and on what probably can be accomplished by a certain date. In this type of communication, as in other messages after a downsizing, organizations should avoid making unrealistic promises. Evaluating systematic and individual performance. A layoff presents special challenges for HR professionals because both individual performance and organizational standards may be in a flux at the same time. Enduring a layoff may require greater flexibility on both sides. The situation is dynamic, not static. The process is a continuous effort of comparing how the employee and the organization are doing after the downsizing, until the downsized organization feels like it is the organization. Now, it is your turn to apply the information presented to you. Click on the link provided in the screen to listen to the aspects of the case study. Make your decision, then start thinking about what you need to implement in order to maintain a good morale with the surviving employees.